from Perth, Australia. Joining me now, Geoffrey Thomas, the editor-in-chief and managing director at airlineratings.com. I want to start with the question that our reporter just asked to you, Geoffrey. Why would a commercial airliner be operating during this time?
Well, look, that's a very good question, and right to the point here. 1 hour earlier than this tragic accident, tragic shootdown, I should say, Turkish Airlines flight TK873 took off from the same airport en route to Istanbul, and it took exactly the same flight path as the Ukrainian plane. Now, there are other aircraft as well that took off, Iran Air aircraft, Maya aircraft, and a Qatari A330 took off as well. So planes were taking off up to an hour and a half before this Ukrainian aircraft took off. So clearly the authorities thought it was safe, and all these planes took off safely. All of a sudden, this Ukraine aircraft takes off, does exactly what the other aircraft have done, but it gets shot down. So, to sort of say it was an accident doesn't really ring true, because other aircraft have been operating in exactly the same manner as this aircraft had in the previous hour.
Right, and issuing a statement that perhaps the transponders would have been off if it was a military plane that they were being confused with. So that doesn't make sense. And they had just said that their air defense systems are very accurate. So yes, questions about how this would happen. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the transponder was on this aircraft because Flight Radar 24 picked it up. And it was tracking it until it was blown out of the sky at 8,000 feet. So if they're suggesting that the transponder was turned off on this aircraft, again, that is wrong as well.
Well, I'm sorry, I misspoke. What I meant to say, if it was an incoming military plane, that would mean that their transponders were turned off.
Indeed, if it was a threat, that aircraft would be probably below the radar, and or a stealth aircraft. So it just doesn't ring true. It doesn't matter which way you slice and dice it.
Right. So they have finally come clean and said, yes, this is what happened after denying it. So that is something else that they'll have to deal with. What do you think as far as in situations like this? Is it typical that commercial airliners that countries stop their commercial flights?
Look, that's a very good point. It seems almost bizarre that any aeroplane was allowed to take off after that missile strike on the Iraqi bases, because one would naturally assume that you would have incoming missiles targeting Iranian defense installations, which are around Tehran Airport. So why the authorities allowed aircraft to fly is perplexing. It doesn't ring correctly. And then the other thing about this is that the FAA in the United States has banned US airlines from flying over Iraqi and Iranian airspace, and one would presume other countries would follow suit. But in actual fact, they haven't. There's lots of aeroplanes flying over Iraqi airspace right now, and there's lots of airplanes flying over Iranian airspace right now. So it really is perplexing, how airlines deal with these issues and how authorities are dealing with these issues, because there's obviously a clear and present danger to passengers.
Yeah, it certainly is. Thanks for bringing that up. It's questions that we need to continue to explore here as we cover this story. Thanks so much, Geoffrey Thomas from Perth, Australia. We always appreciate your insights.